And turning now to the supply chain crisis, President Biden trying to distance himself from any delays this holiday season, now shifting the blame on an unlikely person.
I can't promise that every person will get every gift they want on time. Only Santa Claus can keep that promise. There are items every year that sell out that are hard to find. Some of you moms and dads may remember Cabbage Patch Kids back in the 80s, or Beanie Babies in the 90s, or other toys that have run out at Christmas time in past years when there was no supply chain problem.
Joining us now to discuss is Republican Congressman from Pennsylvania, Dan Meuser. Congressman, good to see you, and thanks so much for coming on. If I can get you to respond to the president there, his comments on the supply chain issues or lack thereof.
Yeah, well, everything that the Biden administration does exacerbates these issues that all families and businesses are dealing with. Inflation is going through the roof. Energy costs are going up. We're spending money like crazy. I mean, we're going to have a debt ceiling issue. We're going to have debt ceilings in the neighborhood of $35 trillion. So clearly what he's created is a very lopsided economy. Far too many dollars, inflationary, chasing too few goods because of the disincentives to work, and the mandates, the rattling, showing the rattling of industry. Every small business and mid-sized business and large business I talk to, and they contact me every day, tell me what's next coming from this group, from mandates to further requirements, the taxes to surprise taxes coming through. They're meddling in the wrong ways, and it's causing all of this bottleneck and havoc.
And staying on supply chain, the president doubling down, insisting the supply chain crisis will not impact stores being stocked. Here's that.
If you watch the news recently, you might think the shelves in all our stores are empty across the country, that parents won't be able to get presents for their children on this holiday season. But here's the deal. For the vast majority of the country, that's not what's happening.
Your comments on that, I mean, have you seen anything you've ordered that is delayed or that you can't simply get, or your constituents are going to stores and the shelves actually are empty? What are your thoughts on the president's response to that?
Sean, completely out of touch, okay? Along with this whole administration, walk into a supermarket, walk into a retailer, walk into a warehouse where the inventory is usually full this time of year for end of the year heavy shipments. They're so wrong in their approach here. Okay, we got to be driving domestic production, not driving let's purchase from overseas, i.e. bottlenecks at the ports. And what about the Department of Transportation? It just kills me. These bureaucrats have no understanding of execution. Right? They think they can wave a magic wand and spend some money and things get done. Where is Pete Buttigieg? Why isn't he at a port? How come he's never been to a port in his life? Okay, to help actually manage the plan. So it's really unfortunate. They're driving up our debt. They're causing inflation. They're disincentivizing work. They're driving our products overseas. Meanwhile, and they're rattling my businesses. And they need to stop.
Well, also this, if I can shift gears to this, and the other part, by the way, of this is if you can get one of these items that you're trying to get, or maybe a big Christmas gift, you're going to pay more for it because of limited supply, inflation, et cetera. I want to switch to this topic, too, the Build Back Better agenda. President Biden continuing to push for that agenda. He's still saying this, it will pay for itself.
The fact is the Build Back Better plan is fiscally responsible. It's the first major piece of legislation in more than a decade that is not only fully paid for, but will generate more than $100 billion in deficit reduction.
The CBO, as you know as well as I do, says differently on that. And also many expert economists say that this actually will cost the taxpayers more, just in different ways. Can you elaborate?
Well, there's a number of small business taxes. There's tax on natural gas, which we have estimates that our heating prices for homes in Pennsylvania are going to be up nearly 50% this year. The level of debt is going up $4 trillion. Why is it then that we have a debt ceiling issue, Mr. President? if this is going to pay for itself, this unbelievable level of spending that the Wharton School of Business, by the way, says it's going to be $4 trillion, not the static number that the CBO gave. So why would we need a debt ceiling of $35 trillion when we're currently under 30 if this latest spending monstrosity of theirs is going to cost nothing? And by the way, it's completely unnecessary and will further disincentivize work, i.e. send more purchasing overseas to China. Upside down policy agenda.
Final thought for you, Congressman. COVID restrictions coming this afternoon. The president's going to speak this afternoon about that, announcing more restrictions. This on the heels of the Omicron variant being found here in the United States. That person is being quarantined, mild symptoms as reported, fully vaxxed, etc. However, the president is going to outlay this. Instead of a 72-hour window to test yourself if you're coming into the United States by plane, you got to do it within a day. They're going to extend the mask mandate now from January now to March for all public travel, planes, trains, etc. And then in-house testing, they're going to have insurance covered. Obviously, the travel ban on 8 South African countries. What are your thoughts on these new restrictions rolling out on the heels of Omicron and something we don't know much about?
Yeah, well, once again, completely unrealistic, completely out of touch. Look, I'm always have been from the very beginning, open but safe, okay? I can live with the masks and with certain requirements, and we should be able to. We got to stay open. But they have no understanding of the type of length of time it takes to get a test. Where is the investment, Mr. President, then, in rapid testing? In Pennsylvania, it takes almost a day to get your test results. Imagine mandating that, as they wanted to, on businesses with over 100 employees. Basically, they'd have to give everybody who was getting tested a day off a week to get those tests. So they're going to create mass confusion at the airports as well. It's completely ambiguous what they're stating on it. And look, they need clarity and they need common sense. We don't see a lot of that.
But it's different if you're coming over the southern border. It's not the same. It's for international travel on planes. But if you flew into Tijuana and cross over the border, you're in.
And that is what really drives my constituents and Americans crazy about this administration. It's a special interest targeted approach. And yes, meanwhile, we have hundreds of thousands of illegals coming over our border with no testing requirements whatsoever. So it's really not thought out. He's not talking to businesses. They're not talking to the airlines. And they're certainly not talking to the airports. And, the science there, that seems to have gone out the window, too.
CBP says they test when they see symptoms, but again, the federal government doesn't have anything in place as far as that goes for the U.S.-Mexico border at this time. Congressman Dan Meuser, Pennsylvania.
They do their best, but they're overwhelmed. Right.
Congressman, thank you for your time. I appreciate that.
Thanks a lot, Sean. Me too.